Hey, what's up guys, it's Kelly. Today I am reviewing The Batman. If you find yourself enjoying this, then please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, it really helps me out, and if you're new here and would like to see more of me, then please subscribe. I feel like before we go any further, I need to preface this by saying I am a huge Christopher Nolan fan, and I am a huge Christian Bale fan, and The Dark Knight specifically, it was the first of the trilogy that I actually saw, and it had a huge impact on me. It's the movie that made me fall in love with the character of Batman more than anything I'd seen before, and it also had a huge impact on my love of cinema following the experience of viewing it, and it changed the way that I started watching and consuming film content. So the Nolan-Bale trilogy means a lot to me, but I think this might be my favourite Batman. I think it's my favourite Batman film, and I think it's my favourite portrayal of him. But we will come back to that. First off, I want to talk a little bit about the plot. This is a spoiler-free review. It is safe to watch if you have not seen the film. I'm going to be speaking about plot points like very broadly, very vaguely, and not giving away any like crucial plot details. So as we meet this version of Batman, he has already been Batman for 2 years. This is not an origin story at all. We don't really find out anything about how he came to be Batman. We don't find out about, you know, his past, learning to fight. We learn a little bit about him learning to fight, but we don't find out that much about his past. We just know that his parents died, and at some point he decided to take all of his money and use it to become a superhero. So a string of very high-profile murders start happening where members of public office, elected officials, people who should be upholding law and order within Gotham City are being murdered. They're being murdered like quite violently, quite brutally, and at the scene of every crime, one is a card addressed to the Batman, and two, lots of references to lies. And we kind of get the impression that this murderer is claiming that all of these elected officials were involved in like some shady dealings and is trying to shed light on the corruption running rampant in Gotham City. As we know, it is a super shady place. And apart from, you know, a couple of specific things like he uses duct tape, etc., this killer's signature is a series of riddles. And Batman gets involved and is helping to solve these murders. His trail to find out more about what's happening also leads him to Selina Kyle, who, for her own reasons, is kind of investigating some of what's been going down. I feel like that's as vague as I can be without like veering into spoiler territory, but one crucial thing that I do want to say is if you've kind of been swept up in the hype around the Batman, but you're not really sure if you should watch it because you're not like super into superhero movies, watch it anyway. It's not a superhero movie. It is a noir crime thriller. There is nothing supernatural going on here. It's about corruption in the police force and in public office. It's about mob bosses. It's about crime lords. It's about psychopaths who find ways to gain followings on the internet. It truly is, one, a Batman for our times, and two, very, very, very grounded in reality and like based on kind of everything I've read about Matt Reeve's philosophy while making this film. That's very much what he wanted. Like, he wanted something that was dark and gritty because that has become the Batman aesthetic, but he wanted something that felt very real. In theory, if we are taking things with, you know, a slight pinch of salt and assuming that technology has probably advanced beyond what we've got accessible to us, everything that happens in this movie is plausible within the real world. So yeah, if you're on the fence about it because you're not really into superhero movies, give it a shot, because it's not. It is simply not a superhero movie. It is like a mob movie, and it's fantastic. I'm gonna just be upfront with you. I have already said that I loved it, and I gave it 5 stars. Let's just get that out of the way. Pretty much you're only gonna be hearing positive things from here on out, because I really, really loved it. So starting off with characters and like performance work, I think it only makes sense to start with the Batman. I wasn't sure about the casting. I actually really like Robert Pattinson. I think that he's an exceptional actor, but I wasn't sure I was sold on him being Batman. From the moment the casting was announced, I was like, I think he could do a good Bruce Wayne. I think he could be a very good Bruce Wayne, and the Bruce Wayne that we got from him was very much what I was expecting. But I wasn't sure about him playing Batman. However, holy wow, he did an incredible job. So starting off with this Bruce Wayne, he's like very awkward, he's super reclusive, He's very awkward, like no one has seen him in probably the 2 years that he's been Batman. No one can get hold of him. Like, Alfred has to bring the accountants from Wayne Enterprises to Wayne Manor because Bruce just will not meet with them at the office. And he says himself, like, he has no interest in the outside world. Like, all he cares about anymore is being Batman and, like, doing good as Batman, because that's what the city needs. To him, like, Batman is his way of carrying on his family's legacy and carrying on the good that his parents did, albeit in a different way. His Bruce Wayne is just, like, brooding and emo, and, like, we see very little of Bruce in the movie. Most of the film he spends as Batman, but, like, the scenes that we do get him, he's just, like, he's such a sad, depressed little boy. And I love that rendition of him. We always see him as, you know, the cool bad boy, playboy, like, part of high society, and that even though that is a front and that is his public persona, to an extent it is also him. You know, he was raised in this world of opulence and wealth, and he belongs in high society. But seeing this Bruce just, like, so pulled back and so removed from all of that in his public and his personal persona, I just thought was a really interesting take on him. And I think that going forward, I think that as we follow this character, we will start to see more of that, like, public persona coming out. I think that he will start to become more part of Gotham society than he has been. But I think giving him this private persona of, like, this very, like, serious, grounded in reality Bruce Wayne is going to make for a very interesting dichotomy going forward if he does develop, like, more of that public persona. I think there's going to be an interesting disparity between, like, private Bruce Wayne, public Bruce Wayne, and then Batman. That was a whole big ramble, but I hope it made sense. Like, Bruce Wayne really is a goth who went through a midlife crisis, and I feel that for Pattinson's Batman. I feel that for him. Even just, like, the way he looks at home when he's Bruce, he wears these, like, oversized t-shirts that don't really fit him. They do nothing for him. When he does go out in public, he's wearing, like, a very ill-fitting suit. This is not the suave, sophisticated Bruce Wayne that we've seen in the past. This is, like, yeah, awkward, reclusive, has no idea how to act in normal society Bruce Wayne. That is the sort of person who decides to dress up as a bat at night to go and save the city. He's not a normal man, okay? He's not. I don't know why we keep pretending that Bruce Wayne is normal. He's not normal. Bruce Wayne has, like, severe psychological trauma, and I thought that the way that he was presented in this film just captured that perfectly. I also felt like the visuals of Wayne Manor really fed into this as well. Like, when we've seen Wayne Manor before, you can see that it's an old house, but it doesn't feel dated. It feels very classic old money, which of course is what it is, but Wayne Manor in this feels like a gothic castle that was built in, like, the 1500s and has not been touched since. Like, I can almost believe that Thomas and Martha Wayne had kept a lot of the furnishings and stuff the same for, I don't know, like, because they like the aesthetic. But after they've died, it does feel like Bruce has not touched it. It is dark, it is gloomy, it's like very heavy old furniture. We see him go into what was presumably, like, their bedroom or their kind of sitting room, and even that, like, doesn't look comfortable. It's just like it looks old. It'll look so old. I don't believe that this Bruce Wayne has any interest in his surroundings, has any interest in updating his house and making it look new, because I think that keeping his house as it is his way of, one, holding on to his parents, and two, I think keeping it, you know, very dark and gloomy and heavy is just very in line with the Bruce that we found. He's really struggling psychologically, clearly. And I think that this just, like, dark, cold, gloomy house is a very direct reference to his personal struggles and his personal feelings and the place that he's at in his life. And I think that's also going to be an interesting, like, visual journey that we'll be able to go on, that presumably, I suspect, as he starts to open up and starts to realise that Gotham doesn't just need him as Batman, they need him as Bruce Wayne as well, that as he starts to, like, open up and come out and learn to be himself again, I guess, learn to be a person again and not just a figure, that kind of the house might change along with him. I'm really hoping that that's going to be an interesting parallel that we can see. So yeah, I thought his Bruce Wayne was a very interesting take that we haven't seen enough of, that to me makes perfect sense, like on every psychological level, but I'm interested to see how he changes and develops. And his Batman, someone on Reddit described it as, Bale's Batman was the Dark Knight, Pattinson's Batman is the Knight. This is something about, say, the Nolan trilogy, is like we never see Batman in a group setting. Like, we see him interact with individuals, but we never really see just like a group of people in a room and Batman in the middle of it, you know? And he quite openly helps the police force in this one. Like, seeing Batman in the middle of an active crime scene with like 30 actual policemen, like, it should be ridiculous, and it's not, because he just embodies it so well. And he wears the costume brilliantly, and he has such an incredible presence that everything he does feels 100% natural, even when he's in these scenarios where he 100% should not be. There was just something so quietly menacing about him. Like, I can't even explain to you what I mean by that. I can't explain what about him is so just like, he's not creepy, like, he's just, but menacing is the word. I thought that Zoe Kravitz did a great job handling the character very sensitively. I think Catwoman is a character that can very easily become a caricature, and I think that she brought a lot of like nuance and subtlety to the role. So she brought out the kind of her like very, very grey morality, but also that you, like, anything she did that was kind of verging on bad, you fully understood. Like, at no point in this does she feel in any way villainous, because everything bad that she does, everything that could potentially make her a villain, they've built her story up so well that you're just like, if I was in this situation, I might do the same. If I was in this situation, I'd had this upbringing, I was presented with this opportunity, I might do the same thing. So I just thought that she played that role perfectly. As for our cast of villains, wow. One of the things that I can't decide if I loved or didn't like about this film is it took two characters that are like slightly camp and gauche and work very well in camp gauche settings, as we've seen before, and brought them into this very dark, gritty Batman, and it worked really well. And on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, that was stellar, like, I'm really excited about seeing the Riddler and the Penguin in this like very dark, sinister Batman, right? On the one hand. On the other hand, thanks to the Nolan trilogy, now this movie, certain runs of the comics, some of the games, Batman has now been cemented in like the public perception as a dark, gritty story, but it's not always. Like, Batman can also be very camp, and I really enjoy camp Batman. And on the one hand, I love that they took these two like bright, slightly ridiculous seeming characters and brought them into this very dark and gritty version of Batman, but also I kind of would love to see someone now, post all of that, when Batman has been cemented in like the general public's mind as something dark and gritty, I would love to see someone make like a ridiculous, bright, camp Batman film now, but make it good. That is if we get another Batman reboot, which we will, that is the reboot I want to see. I want camp, I want bright colours, I want a lime green suit covered in question marks. In this day and age, if someone can pull that off and make it a good movie, I would be floored by it, honestly. So I enjoyed the Penguin, I enjoyed the Riddler. I thought that they were both stellar performances. The Riddler spends a large portion of the film with a mask on, and like full face mask. All you can see is his eyes. And his performance was astounding. And then when we see him unmasked, his performance just gets even better. Like, Paul Dano's performance, absolutely stellar. And there was one moment where I wasn't sure about his performance, but the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, but that plays into exactly where the character was at the time, and actually is just even further confirmation of how good his performance was. Likewise, the Penguin. Colin Farrell was under so much prosthetic makeup. I'm amazed that you could see a single facial expression. Like, the makeup crew, the prosthetics crew on this film deserve all of the awards. Like, they're not gonna get them, but they deserve all of them purely for their work on him. It was phenomenal that they changed his face that much, and he still delivered such a good performance. Obviously, his character is very easy to caricature, and they didn't go that route. They took him in another route that would have also been very easy to caricature, but instead still managed to give him a very, very nuanced situation. And I'm so interested to see where they take his character arc from this. We're getting a Penguin HBO Max series. It's going to be incredible. Like, I'm so excited for it. Visually, incredible. In addition to being my favourite Batman, this is my favourite Gotham. I don't know if it's because we get a lot of sweeping shots of the city, but it felt more like a real place than it has felt to me previously. I got a sense of the size and the scope of the city, which I haven't in the same way before, and I kind of got it for the first time. Like, Bruce Wayne really loves the city, and it can be difficult to understand why. Like, it is a cesspool of just horrible people doing terrible things. And even though we got just as much of how bad Gotham is as we normally get, something about it just drew me in and made me understand why he loves it so much. It felt like I was there. It felt like a real place. Not a single frame of this film was wasted, and I'm going to remind you that it was 3 hours long. This movie is 3 hours, and not a second of it is wasted. Every shot is incredible. Like, it is breathtaking. There were really tense moments. There were fight scenes. There were terrible things were happening on screen, and I was just I was sitting there just basking in how stunning it was. And I don't remember the last movie that really floored me with its visuals in that way. It was such an incredible experience, and I'm so glad that I went to see it on the big screen, because my one criticism of it is it's a bit dark, and seeing it it's been calibrated perfectly for the big screen, but if you watch this on a small screen where the settings are ever so slightly off, you're not going to see anything. I'm really hoping that I know that they do different cuts, sound editing. This is a thing that I found out recently from Ryan Johnson's Twitter. They do different sound passes for cinema versus home viewing, which makes absolute sense because home setups are not the same sound-wise as cinema setups. So they do different audio gradings for the cinema release versus the home release, and I'm really hoping that they do a slightly different colour grade on the home release, because I think trying to watch this on a laptop is, you are not gonna, it's gonna be like that episode of Game of Thrones where you just could not see a single thing that happened. So as a cinema experience, it was fine. I didn't find it too dark. It was very dark in parts, but I could still see what was going on. But I think it could very quickly veer into too dark territory, and I think this is a problem. We're having, is because so many films are being released for home release with the rise of things like Netflix, there are so many streaming services and so many people are making their own films now that a lot more films are being made to be consumed at home, and as a result I think a lot of people who are doing cinema releases want to kind of prove that cinema still has a place, and they are making films that are intended to be seen on the big screen, and that's great because it makes for incredible big screen viewing for the month that it is out and available at the big screens. But after that, it's going to be watched at home, and it needs to be able to translate to home viewing as well. So I'm really hoping that they do a colour pass for home viewing, because it could be a tad dark, but as a big screen experience, just incredible cinematography, incredible use of colour, incredible use of light, or in most cases the lack of light. All wow. And another thing that I really enjoyed is there are a lot of POV shots. So like Batman wears contact lenses that record everything that he's seeing, and we get to see through those lenses and how those lenses kind of distort his vision from time to time. And even like when he's just wearing the mask, like how the mask kind of obscures his vision in some ways. So we get a lot of POV shots, which I thought really added to the viewing experience, because it kind of, every time there was a POV shot that was like blurry around the edges because he couldn't see out of his mask properly, or like that was slightly fisheye and rounded because of contact lenses, I was like, oh, this is hurting my brain. But like, that is what he's living with, that is what he's seeing. And I thought that that was just a really nice touch to kind of bring you further into the world and into the character, and just reminding you that that is not just a camera shot, that is what Batman's seeing, that is Batman's eyeline. I thought that was great. Then the other like technical aspect that I want to talk about is the sound design. Ave Maria is used as a refrain throughout the film, sometimes as lyrics, sometimes it's just the instrumental that's been taken and like stretched and distorted slightly. And I love a good church choir, I do. And the Ave Maria that they used is performed by the Trinity Boys Choir, and it is beautiful. If you are in like a church setting, if you're in like a big cathedral and you have this choir of boys singing, like, beautiful experience. If you don't believe in God, it might make you believe in God, like, incredible. But that same sound, that exact same sound in any other setting becomes inherently creepy. And it played it to perfection. And then, yeah, just the way that it was used, kind of slightly distorted, so you might not notice it throughout the movie, but it still gave you that, like, continuity of feeling. Like, even if you didn't realize you were recognizing it, you were recognizing it throughout the film. That was brilliant. They use Something in the Way by Nirvana twice in the song, which again I just thought was a lovely nod to Bruce Wayne just being an emo boy. I mean, this version of Batman would have grown up in the 90s. This version of Batman is a 90s kid, and he was definitely a Nirvana fan. There's no doubt in my mind that he was a Nirvana fan. But more than just like the musical choices, the score itself was exceptional. The effect that had on my mood while I was watching was insane. Like, I was so tense. The full 3 hours of this movie, I was so tense. Just from the music. It was scored so brilliantly, and the score was so evocative that it made you feel exactly what it wanted you to feel every moment of the movie, and it was fantastic. Going forward, I'm really interested to see where they take the story, and I'm interested to see who else they bring in. Like, I would love to see them bring Dick Grayson into this world. I would love to see, I mean, let's be honest, I just want Nightwing. Like, I know that there's a Nightwing movie planned, but there just seem to be just be like a bunch of issues with it, and I'm just like, can we just bring Nightwing in here? Like, we can skip like 10 years. He can adopt Dick Grayson. We can jump like 10 years, and we can get some Nightwing action. You know, that's I really just want to see Nightwing on the big screen. So I would really like to see them bring Dick Grayson in. You know, maybe we see them bring Barbara in. Like, that would be fun. We see the little Bat family. You know, and I think having set this world up as a very realistic Batman, I think that there is room to bring like those very emotional elements into it in a way that'll feel very natural. And I think given the Gotham that they've created, they could bring in a very interesting Poison Ivy storyline, like bring her in as like an eco-terrorist who is just so upset with the way that we're destroying the planet that she like starts to take on the city. I think there's definitely room for like Poison Ivy as an eco-warrior to do something really interesting. So I'm really excited to see like what they decide to do, who they decide to bring in. Batman has access to such a vast, varied group of characters before you even start looking into the extended universe. So I'm really excited to see where this franchise goes. I'm always down for more Batman movies, and I think they've really got onto a good thing here. So thank you very much for listening to me ramble about how much I love this film. I'm terrified to edit it because I filled up my SD card. I've been talking so much. That's going to be a beast, but thank you if you've stuck it out this far. Then please make sure that you give it a thumbs up, because you must have either really enjoyed it or have really been hate watching me. Either way, thanks for the watch time. And subscribe if you aren't already. I am planning to do more film reviews going forward because I really love them, and apparently making content is the only way to ensure that I actually do the things that I enjoy. So thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts about the Batman movie in the comments. Try to be spoiler free, please. I want the comments to be a safe space. In the description you'll find links to all my other social media. That's my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, as well as my blog and my TikTok. You'll also find links to my Blackwell's affiliate link, my Scribd affiliate link, my Redbubble, my online store, and my Ko-fi if you'd like to support me using any of those. But that's it for me today, and I shall see you all again very soon. Bye!